heavenly angels reveal prophetic message. You're moving to a divine new home in 3 miraculous days. In the quaint village of St. Michaelis, whispers of divine intervention echoed through every cobblestone street. And at the heart of this spiritual epicenter was Margaret, a devoted mother of 2, seeking solace and strength as her family faced an imminent eviction from their beloved home. Every night, she gathered her children under the soft golden glow of their kitchen lamp, their voices whispering fervent prayers to Saint Joseph, the guardian of families. Spirits of faith fluttered in the air like the softest of angels, but dark clouds loomed heavier with each passing moment, threatening to consume their sanctuary. Then came the fateful evening when Father O'Reilly held a solemn prayer vigil at St. Michaelis, the flickering candles casting shadows of hope against the stone walls. Hundreds filled the church, their hearts vibrating with every prayer. It was then that an elderly figure, a prophetic elder with deep-set eyes that sparkled like the morning sun, turned to Margaret. With a voice like rolling thunder, he proclaimed, "In 3 days, your divine new home awaits." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd, and Margaret's heart soared and sank simultaneously, a promise wrapped in both hope and uncertainty. As days unfolded, Margaret's prayers grew more desperate, heavy with longing. The universe felt like a vast ocean of trials, each wave crashing against her fragile faith. But as doubt trickled into her heart, community embraced her with warmth, a tapestry of support woven by handshakes, shared meals, and listening ears. Yet, as news from their landlord turned grim, shadows crept closer, suffocating her spirit. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. At last, on the eve of their transition, a local family, moved by Margaret's plight, offered them refuge in a cozy home with a garden that bloomed just as brightly as her hope. But the skies darkened that very evening, fierce winds battling her joy. In the face of nature's fury, Margaret's spirit ignited anew. She organized a prayer circle on the church steps, gathering her community in resolute unity. Together, they clasped hands, hearts colliding in collective hope as voices carried towards heaven. As the storm snarled around them, a mystical stillness emerged, ushering forth a soft light enveloping the garden like a heavenly embrace. The crowd gasped, eyes widening in awe as a radiant figure shimmered before them, filling the air with miraculous serenity. Their prayers had called forth a protective grace, a guardian spirit encircling Margaret's family with love. But just as the winds began to ease, a chilling message drifted through the atmosphere, casting doubt once more. It fluttered like leaves caught in the last breath of the storm, leaving everyone restless and bewildered. The gathering's hearts raced, curiosity mixing with a tangible anticipation, as they stood on the edge of a greater revelation. What message would unfold next, and would it confirm their faith or challenge them further? Margaret looked towards the horizon, breathless, awaiting the next divine sign that would illuminate their path. The night wrapped around St. Michaelis like a soft blanket, but an undercurrent of tension electrified the air. As Margaret stood among her neighbors, their collective breath hung heavy with expectation. What new twist would the divine reveal? Should they brace themselves for a challenge, or could they trust in the promise that danced on the edge of their hearts? Suddenly, the elder, his silver hair shimmering beneath the streetlights, began to speak again. "Fear not, for the Lord is working wonders beyond your sight." His voice, though anchored in weight, held a sweetness that drew near the crowd. Margaret felt the warmth of faith seep back into her spirit like a balm. She looked into the faces around her, seeing not just worry but a flicker of hope igniting in each heart. Just then, the winds settled and a calmness enveloped them, like a comforting hug from above. Wisps of light began to swirl around, materializing into a figure that was neither of this world nor the next, a vivid reminder of the divine tapestry woven into their lives. The atmosphere thickened with a sacredness that brought tears to many eyes. Even the children, once restless, now stood silent, entranced by the presence of a benevolent angel. Slowly, the figure extended a hand, and with it, a ripple of peace spread through the gathered crowd. Margaret felt it first. A warm rush enveloped her, rooting her feet firmly on the ground. This was not an ending but merely a bridge to something extraordinary. It was then she understood this moment was a testament of persistence, love, and community resolve. The path unfolds before you, the angel said, its voice ringing with clarity. For in 3 days your divine home shall be manifest. But heed this, what is offered comes with a deeper call of faith. Are you ready to embrace the unexpected? A spattering of murmurs flitted through the assembly, mixed with reverent gasps. Ready? Could they ever truly be ready for what the Almighty planned? Margaret felt her own heart race, the question wrapping around her like a vine, pulling her thoughts inward. What would they need to give up? What sacrifices lay ahead? She recalled the dry parchment of her worry, now soaked in newfound hope. That question hung heavy in the night sky like a star waiting to be born. The crowd's eyes shone with anticipation, each individual feeling a dawning realization they were a part of this message, inseparable from its promise. Their unity amplified the truths being revealed, and Margaret recognized how their intertwining lives were essential threads in God's great plan. With renewed resolve, Margaret raised her voice. We will embrace all that comes. Together, the cry ignited others to respond, engulfing the air with affirmations. Together, echoed defiantly against the cool night, a declaration that bonded them in commitment and conviction. The angel, caught up in the moment, smiled softly, nodding with approval. With the flicker of its luminous form, it faded into a stream of light, leaving behind a lingering essence and assurance that all would be well. As the final traces of light dimmed, a quiet coda settled among the community. The urgency of their newfound mission coursed through Margaret, urging her forward. What unforeseen challenges lay ahead? Would their faith withstand the trials yet to come? As she breathed deep the peaceful night air, Margaret knew the journey was just beginning. She looked towards her children, nestled close, and the rest of her community, hearts blazing with hope. But the unfolding was far from over. Behind the veil of their nights, secrets still lingered. What celestial intersections would reveal themselves in the coming days? With every prayer, every act of love, they would inch closer to manifesting their divine promise. The sun rose gently over St. Michael's, casting golden rays that danced on the dewy grass, blessing the day with promise. Margaret awoke with a heart lightened, yet burdened by the angel's enigmatic words. What would the next 3 days hold? The community hummed with excitement and trepidation, each soul wondering what sacrifices they would be called to make. As families gathered in the church for morning prayer, she could feel the atmosphere buzz with a collective prayer. The scent of fresh coffee mingled with the soft notes of hymns floating through the air as voices rose gently, a harmonious offering to the heavens. Each melody wrapped around Margaret like a warm embrace, comforting her heart, coaxing out lingering fears. They knelt together in spirit, sending forth their hopes and dreams like fragrant incense rising up. Margaret could feel the weight of worry lift slightly. She prayed for clarity. Amidst the call for faith, she longed for guidance. Her hands trembled just slightly as they clasped, an embodiment of multiple lives intertwined in devotion. Friends, families, neighbors all beseeching the divine to guide them through uncertainty. My friends, the elder spoke again, his tone soothing. We are on the cusp of a great transition. The Lord waits to pour out his blessings, but we must be a willing vessel. Let us open our hearts and our minds to what lies ahead. The words echoed in the fragile morning, and Margaret knew that each line was an invitation, a challenge to surrender. But beneath her surface-level faith, she wrestled with a lingering doubt. How could they truly prepare for the unknown? That evening, a gentle rain began to fall, the sky darkening as drops tapped rhythmically against windows. Margaret and her children huddled under blankets, sharing stories, but the looming question still flickered in her mind like a candle in the wind. What would leave them changed? and what would they gain from the process? She watched their wide eyes, filled with trust. Innocence is a treasure, she mused, wishing to shield them from the complexities of uncertainty. Days passed swiftly, adorned with shared meals and gatherings which felt like sacred rituals now guiding them toward their divine promise. Yet, as the hours faded, Margaret felt a restless energy rise within her community. Doubt wrestled against hope like a battle inside every soul. On the morning of the third day, they gathered once more, voices raised in prayer, yet the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. As a profound stillness engulfed them, Margaret closed her eyes, seeking strength. Just as she lifted her voice in a burst of praise, a surge of warmth flooded the space. A vibrant light erupted in the midst of the congregation, illuminating the room with divine brilliance. The air crackled with presence. Everyone present felt the shift as if heaven itself had stepped through the threshold. Embrace the unexpected, a voice resonated, pulling their collective gaze upward. For all who stood there, this was not just an invitation. It felt like a call to arms. Trust deepened, hearts opened wider, ready to face whatever lay ahead. They felt invisible hands wrap around them, encouraging them to rise and meet their unfolding destiny. Would the life they sought be more than they could envision? As the angel once again graced their presence, its brilliant form shimmered with power. Your journey has just begun. Are you ready to step fully into your divine calling? Their response hung heavy in the air, a mixture of excitement, courage, and uncertainty. Margaret could hardly breathe in the wonder what awaited them on the other side of this moment. The answer lingered like a prayer on the wind, teasing the edges of their anticipation. As they awaited the manifestation of faith in their lives, uncertainty transformed into exhilaration, leaving them ready for the next step. What awaited on the flip side of faith? What miracles would come to life? As the angel's light enveloped the congregation, Margaret felt an inexplicable warmth radiating through her being. It was as if each person was wrapped in a cocoon of love and reassurance. Anxiety transformed into a hopeful chatter, as whispers of divine purpose began to weave their way through the hearts gathered at St. Michael's. How can we move forward? A voice broke through, timid yet clear. It was Hannah, a mother with a newborn cradled in her arms. The congregation turned to her, recognizing the universal question lurking within them all. The angel's shimmering form remained an undeniable presence, an anchor in their collective fear. Your steps will be revealed, but first, you must let go of what you hold too tightly. It responded, each word echoing with an urgency that squeezed Margaret's heart. What do we cling to, she thought? Control? Familiarity? Comfort? The answers loomed in the silence like uninvited guests at a gathering. She could feel her spirit stirring. Would they dare to surrender to an unknown future? The tension in the room began to unravel as the angel continued. Fear not, for the path will unfold before you like a flower reaching for the sun. Open your hearts and your minds. Trust that each step is laden with grace. Consider what stirs within you. Margaret thought of her children. They were her everything, and she shivered at the thought of a radical change that could affect their lives. Yet she could also sense the quiet nudging of adventure, a longing for something more. It was a promise of abundance, just waiting to be claimed. One by one, the community members began to rise, sharing their own fears and hopes. The stories blossomed like petals in spring, each revealing a longing for growth, connection, and a deeper relationship with the divine. They spoke of dreams that tugged at them, of gifts buried beneath routine. Laughter broke through the weight of uncertainty, wrapping the room in a comforting embrace. Last, Margaret stood. She cleared her throat, her pulse quickening. What if letting go means gaining more than we could ever dream? What if God's plan is so much larger than we allow ourselves to imagine? An unseen breeze swept through the church. The call was powerful, the atmosphere thick with possibility. They shared excited glances, and in that moment, hope ignited within them. Excitement began to rise, enveloping them as they fanned the flames of each other's faith. The angel smiled gently, its luminous wings unfurling wider. Yes, my children, trust is your guide. Each heart here has a role in this unfolding story. Together you will forge the path forward. Margaret felt her heart swell as she glanced around at the faces reflecting light, filled with faith. What awaited them was certainly divine, and the future felt more radiant than ever. A sweet realization dawned: it wouldn't just be about her family. It was a shared journey, a collective leap of faith that they would embark upon together as they joined hands. Voices lifted in unison, tears streaming down cheeks in a mixture of worship and joy. The chorus echoed softly, raising the spirit higher, intertwining their hopes like threads of a sacred tapestry. And the stillness that followed, Margaret felt an overwhelming peace settle over the congregation, a balm for their souls. Yet, beneath this blanket of serenity lingered a question, the tension of the unknown still holding a mysterious edge. How would their lives change? What sacrifices would birth the miracles they yearned for? As they stood together, hearts full of expectation, a shimmer of light flickered from the angel. Prepare, dear ones. In 3 days the veil shall lift. The divine home you seek awaits. Are you willing to embrace it? The questions hung thick in the air, shimmering like stars just out of reach. The spark of divine wisdom had ignited. The journey was underway. Would they muster the courage to follow? What miraculous transformations lay ahead? Only time would unveil the answers, leaving each heart longing for revelation. As the angel's final words settled over the congregation, a deep reverence enveloped the room. Silence draped itself like a comforting shawl as the weight of purpose hung in the air. Margaret looked around, her heart amplified by the palpable energy all around her. What awaited them in 3 days? A mixture of apprehension and anticipation danced within her. Hannah, still holding her baby, whispered, "What does the veil shall lift mean? How do we prepare?" Her voice trembled slightly, yet the question lingered, resonating within others like an echo in a sacred space. The angel, sensing the need for clarity, began to glow more intensely, illuminating even the dimmest corners of the church. Preparation comes from opening yourselves completely to the journey ahead. It proclaimed. Embrace vulnerability. Recognize the fears that bind you, and surrender these to the divine. Margaret could feel Hannah's fear mirrored in her own heart, yet within that fear was also a flicker of truth. They had spent so long clinging to the known, holding tightly to what was comfortingly familiar. Could they truly let go? Could they trust in the providence that the angel assured them would guide them? One of the elders, Malcolm, rose slowly, leaning on his cane for support. His voice was a steady whisper, yet the wisdom it carried was profound. We often confine ourselves in our comfort zones, even when God calls us to move. Perhaps it is time to reflect on our gifts and use them boldly for His purpose. Soft murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Reluctant realization illuminated their faces. What if stepping into the unknown would lead them to a richer life, a fuller sense of community and connection? The starry fabric of their dreams was being woven tighter, growing brighter with each voice that joined in faith. Listen to your heart, the angel encouraged, its voice cascading like a gentle stream. Sometimes what you seek is hidden beneath layers of self-doubt. In these 3 days, seek clarity. Pray without ceasing. Listen to each other, for it is in the collective spirit that you will find guidance. Margaret felt a warmth spread through her as purpose swelled within the room like a rising tide. Yes, they would prepare, not in fear, but in anticipation. They would let their hearts beat as one, tuned to the divine rhythm that was calling them to something greater. As they gathered together in a circle, hands clasped tightly, Margaret called out, "Let us list what we are willing to release. What do we need to let go of to step into this new chapter?" The words poured forth, her voice strong and steady. Answers began to echo through the space around them, a chorus of fears and doubts surrendered. "I release my need for certainty," someone admitted. "I let go of judgment," another added. "I relinquish control," came yet another voice. With each admission, the air grew lighter, filled with potent divine energy. Margaret felt the hesitant knots in her spirit loosen, replaced by something bolder, a sacred trust beginning to form in her heart like a bird stretching its wings for the first time. As the evening wore on, they prayed together, wrapped in the light and love that enveloped them. A sense of unity danced above them, carrying whispers of hope to the edges of their hearts. But as the candlelight flickered, casting shadows upon the walls, Margaret's eyes caught the glimmer of the angel's wings again. There was something more, a message yet unspoken hiding in the depths of that celestial gaze. Could it be that the true leap was yet to come, the kind that would test their very souls, pushing them into the realms of their faith? As she closed her eyes, a gentle breeze swept over her, an invitation. The uncertainty of what lay ahead held a mysterious sweetness. Would they heed it together? The angel's presence resonated still as a final soft voice echoed. In the days to come, prepare your hearts beyond the veil. What awaits may just challenge everything you thought you knew about faith and your place in this world. Margaret inhaled deeply, preparing to navigate the sacred mystery that awaited them, questioning all the while. What revelations would emerge as the days unfolded? What transformations would await just beyond the horizon of their faith? The dawn broke slowly, the very air pregnant with expectancy. Margaret rose, her heart fluttering like a bird at the edge of its nest, ready to take flight into the unknown. The whispers of the night filled her mind. What had the angel meant by what awaits may just challenge everything? As she stepped outside, the world around her felt alive, bursting with color. The trees swayed gently, their leaves clapping softly as if to cheer her on. The sun broke through the clouds, painting the sky in brilliant shades of gold and pink. It was as if creation itself was celebrating the promise of the days to come. The other members of the congregation filled the church throughout the day. Each one brought different burdens and expectations. Margaret welcomed them as they arrived, her smile warm and inviting. There was an unspoken bond forming, an invisible thread weaving them closer together. Each word spoken, each prayer offered, ignited a spark of hope in their hearts. Hannah entered with her baby, the little one cooing softly. I sensed a shift in the air today, Margaret, she said, eyes sparkling. Do you think we really can let go of our fears? Margaret nodded, feeling the weight of the question sink deep into her heart. I believe we must, Hannah. The angel said, to embrace our vulnerability. Scary, but there's strength in being open. Together we can strengthen each other. As they settled into a circle again, Malcolm spoke up, his voice steady and calming. Let us take time to listen. Listen not just to our fears, but to the divine voice that calls to us. With agreement, they began a sacred practice of sharing their deepest hopes and dreams out loud, allowing each word to float between them as an offering to the divine. I hope for peace in my heart, peace for my family, someone said quietly, and the room held its breath. Another confessed, I long for healing in my body and in the spirits of those I love. Each shared intention built a bridge of connection, transforming individual struggles into collective prayers. Margaret felt the energy enveloping them like a warm blanket, a powerful surge that seemed to echo the angel's words. Imagine what we could achieve together, she said softly. What if each of us took a step towards our dreams in faith? What if we believed we could heal not just ourselves, but also those around us? With encouragement, they began to voice their commitments. One pledged to reach out to estranged family, another to seek forgiveness. The stories flowed, tears mixed with laughter, and a divine kind of joy danced in their hearts. But even in the midst of this blossoming joy, Margaret felt a subtle tugging inward, a deeper call beyond their united voices. She cast a glance at the door, as if sensing the angel's luminous presence lingering just outside. What awaited them? Was it something that could truly transform their lives, shake the very foundation of their beliefs? As the sun dipped low in the sky, casting long shadows across the church pews, Margaret voiced what lay heavy on her heart. We need to understand what the angel truly meant by our journey. What is beyond the veil? How can we prepare for the challenge? We must have courage, for we are but children of the divine, and a new beginning is upon us. The room settled into a profound silence, heavy with contemplation. Every heart seemed to beat louder, echoing a primal desire for truth. Then, as if answering their unspoken questions, a sudden wind fluttered through the windows, stronger than before. It stirred the flickering candle flames, sending soft shadows dancing across the walls. Margaret felt her skin prickle with the weight of divine presence. "Tomorrow we shall seek clarity," Malcolm whispered, his eyes glistening with understanding. "We will take this to the Lord together." Margaret's heart soared at the thought, yet fear threaded through her like a persistent vine. What would they find or lose when they lifted the veil? The promise of the following day beckoned, and with it, the hope of revelation. Would they be ready to embrace it? Would their faith endure the unwavering journey before them? The sweetness of the unknown lingered in the air like an unspoken prayer, as a chorus of hearts united in devotion. As the last rays of sunlight dipped beyond the horizon, the light fading but the faith within them growing stronger, Margaret knew one thing for certain. The next challenge would test them profoundly. What lay beyond the veil? Would they rise together or falter in fear? The first light of morning seeped through the windows, warming the pews where the congregation gathered once more. Margaret could feel a tangible energy in the air as she entered the church, her heart pounding in anticipation. Today was not just another day. It was a day appointed for revelation. The members trickled in quietly, their faces etched with a blend of hope and unease. As they settled, Margaret glanced around and caught their eyes, each one flickered with an unspoken question, as if they were all waiting for the right moment to voice the fears that weighed upon their hearts. "Good morning, everyone," she spoke softly, her voice a soothing balm. "Today we embrace the unknown together in faith." Instantly, an air of calm settled among them. "Let us hold hands," Malcolm suggested, and they formed a circle, hands clasped tight, every heartbeat synchronizing into a rhythm of prayer. Margaret felt a warmth rise in her chest as she squeezed Hannah's hand. "Let us invite the divine into our hearts and ask for clarity." With heads bowed, they breathed deeply, drawing in the promise of new beginnings. The room was thick with prayer, a collective yearning rising like incense. "Lord, grant us your wisdom," a voice murmured, and the others echoed the plea. Margaret could almost hear a whispering breeze responding, nudging them toward something greater. After a moment of silence, Margaret opened her eyes, and an overwhelming sense of peace enveloped her. "What are we prepared to uncover today?" she wondered aloud, her voice laced with emotion. Before anyone could respond, the wind outside picked up again, dancing with the leaves of the old oak tree nearby. It felt as if the world outside was alive, inviting them to step forth into the revelation of their spiritual journey. Suddenly, a bright light shone through the stained glass windows, illuminating the entire room. A chorus of gasps filled the air as they looked up, hearts racing. It wasn't just the sun. It was a divine presence descending upon them. The flicker of light seemed to rearrange into shapes, outlines resembling angels swirling in grace. "Look," Hannah exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder, pointing toward the light. "It's as if they are here to guide us," Malcolm remarked, awe threading through his voice. Margaret felt a stirring deep within her, something profound beckoning her to listen carefully. The angelic figures in the light seemed to pulse with vibrant energy. Each one seemed to communicate without words, whispers of love and divine plans showering upon their spirits. "What do you bring to us?" Margaret whispered, her heart open and receptive. What awaited their collective hearts? As if understanding her question, the figures shimmered, and a sound filled the air, soft melodies that spoke of hope and healing, promises of new beginnings. Each note nestled itself into their souls, crafting a beautiful tapestry of faith, urging them to accept the journey ahead. Tears streamed down Margaret's cheeks as she inhaled the significance of this moment. This is our call to action. We are meant to move into something new. We must trust. Each member nodded, feeling the compelling invitation to step forth. They lingered for a moment longer, hearts connected deeply with the divine echo around them. What are you willing to release today in order to embrace this divine call? Malcolm finally asked, breaking the sacred silence. The question echoed in Margaret's mind. The fear of the unknown? The comfort of old habits? Each response held weight. Each was a key to unlocking their potential as they began to share what they were willing to let go of. The light began to fade, leaving a sublime peace enveloping them. The day was still young, the journey ahead boundless. What awaited them in the days to come? Would their willingness to release bring forth a divine transformation? Margaret felt a tremor of anticipation. The angels had come for a reason. As the last echoes of their prayers hung in the air, Margaret knew that their hearts would soon encounter the ultimate truth. Would they find the strength to embrace the greatest challenge life would throw at them? Would they rise to meet their destinies? The air still hummed with the afterglow of that miraculous moment as the congregation slowly reclaimed the serenity of their surroundings. Margaret wiped her tears, not just of joy but also of the revelation that had seared through her heart like sunlight bursting through clouds. "Let us take a moment," she suggested, her voice steady now. "What have we learned? What does this mean for each of us?" Malcolm, still captivated by the experience, nodded. It felt like they were telling us something about movement, about finding our place. "Exactly," Margaret replied, sensing her own heart echoing his words. "It's as if we're being called to a new home, a new beginning. But what does that mean in our lives?" Hannah, visibly energized, chimed in. "But how do we prepare for this change? What does it look like for us?" As uncertainty mixed with excitement, Margaret felt a flame of inspiration flare within her. "Let us explore this as a group. Unity makes us stronger. The angels have shown us that we are not alone in this journey." Everyone turned inward, contemplating, hearts intertwining. One by one, they began to ponder their personal sanctuaries. Where would they go? What paths would they take to discover gatherings of hope and renewal? The responses bubbled forth, a beautiful mixture of dreams and fears. "I want to let go of the past," Malcolm said with a tremor in his voice. "All those expectations I carry, they weigh me down." "I feel it too," Hannah added, her eyes sparkling with understanding. "What if every cycle of life isn't an end, but a beginning?" Their voices began to harmonize, resonating in the sacred space. Each confession, each release echoed a collective yearning for a divine breakthrough. Just then, as if responding to their prayers, the light outside transformed again. It glowed brighter, shimmering with an alluring warmth that wrapped around them like a tangible embrace. With renewed fervor, they returned to prayer, this time asking for direction and strength. "God, prepare our hearts for whatever you desire to unveil. Lead us to our new home," Margaret prayed, her voice trembling with sincerity. An unexpected wind swept through the church, rustling the pages of their hymnals and stirring the candles atop the altar. It felt like an unseen hand guiding their spirits. Hannah gasped, "Look at the altar. It's glowing." The light flickered and pulsed in rhythm with their prayers, illuminating symbols of faith carved into the wood. It was as if every corner of the church was alive, whispering promises of a future not yet seen. Margaret felt a deep connection to the present moment. She understood now. This was not merely a transition of place but a shift in their souls. "Are we ready to accept the journey this will take us on?" she asked. The question floated through the air, heavy yet so incredibly light. As their eyes sparkled with wonder, they began to visualize their next steps, the ideal version of their collective story forming in their minds. Would they venture into unknown territories, finding solace in shared hearts? Could they trust that their newfound faith would carry them through? Yet doubt crept in, as doubts often do. "What if we fail?" Malcolm's voice broke, vulnerability surfacing. Margaret held his gaze. "Faith is the compass that guides us. We might stumble, but our spirits are more robust than we realize. And we have each other." At that moment, Margaret felt the angel's presence once more, filling the room with sheer energy and courage. The weight of doubt fell away, replaced by an unwavering belief in their purpose. The time had come to embark on a journey steeped in divine promise. Together they would seek not just a new place but a new understanding of their faith and their community. Margaret's heart raced with the possibilities. 3 days, she murmured. What happens in 3 days? They looked at her, exchanging glances filled with curiosity and hope. "I believe we are on the brink of a divine unfolding," she whispered, certainty wrapping her heart in warmth. Could they be ready to embrace the miraculous? What if their movements over these next few days were life-altering? What miracles awaited them? just beyond the horizon. The mystery lingered, prayers hanging in the air, inviting them to step forward into the unknown. As the days drifted closer, a sense of anticipation enveloped the congregation. It felt as if the world outside held its breath, waiting alongside them for the unfolding of divine promises. Margaret gathered the group again, her spirit buzzing with energy. "Let us meet every day until we feel the tug of our journey," she suggested, each word ringing with purpose. Malcolm nodded, a hint of a smile lighting his face. "Feels so vital, doesn't it? Like a tuning fork finding its note." "Absolutely," Hannah agreed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "As if we're meant to harmonize with something greater than ourselves." They began to share the changes they envisioned, each thought glittering like stars in the expanding universe of their hopes. "I feel drawn to nature," Malcolm said earnestly. "There's something healing about the earth that calls to me. I want to help create a space for others to connect with God's creation." "What a beautiful idea," Margaret exclaimed, warmth bubbling within her. "A retreat where people can feel the earth beneath their feet and the sky above them. Just imagine the healing that could happen there." Hannah's enthusiasm grew. "And what if we partnered with that local community center? They could host gatherings, support groups, a place for people to come together in love." Margaret's heart soared. "Yes, our move doesn't need to be solitary. Instead, it can build bonds that shine brightly for others. Each one of us holds a piece of the puzzle." They took turns voicing their visions, leaning into one another, pooling their desires, dreams, and fears. With every heartbeat, their words intertwined, weaving a tapestry of shared purpose that glowed with divine light. Suddenly, Malcolm paused, his expression shifting. "What if we don't find the answers we're seeking?" His voice trembled. Margaret reached for his hand, grounding their connection. "Sometimes not knowing is part of the journey. Every step of faith we take leads us closer to that revelation." The weight of uncertainty hung in the air, yet it was filled with a strange sweetness, a promise that even darkness could birth light. They shared silent nods, their collective apprehension slowly giving way to belief. On the second day, as they gathered, the atmosphere thickened with excitement. The church felt charged with an electric anticipation. Margaret led a prayer, her voice trembling with anticipation. "May we embrace our purpose, God. Empty our hearts of doubt. Fill us with clarity and let your will unfold beautifully before us." In response to their prayers, the lights flickered gently, as if the world around them was acknowledging their cries. A wave of awe washed over the group, refreshing their spirits. Hannah looked at Margaret, eyes wide. "Do you feel that?" "It's palpable." "I do," Margaret replied, her heart racing. "The angels are with us, inspiring us to remain faithful." They closed their eyes, opening themselves to the divine whisperings that floated around them. Each member embraced not just their fears, but the glimmering hope that twinkled like stars in the sky above. On the third day, the congregation gathered once more, anticipation simmering like an unfolding secret. Margaret stood at the forefront, her heart full. "Are we ready to embrace whatever comes next? God has a plan in our hearts." As she spoke those words, a wind swept through the sanctuary. It was a gentle breeze, cool and soothing, wrapping around them like a blanket of peace. A flicker of light danced through the windows, bathing them in a golden glow. Margaret's breath caught, and the words escaped her lips. "What if this is the moment we've been waiting for? What awaits us on the other side of this revelation?" Each heart began to beat in rhythm, pulsing with a divine curiosity. They stood on the edge of something magnificent, teetering between what they knew and the unfathomable possibilities before them. Could they trust in the divine promise that lay ahead? Would they be ready to step fully into their new reality? The mystery hung in the air, a sacred promise waiting to unfold. The morning dawned in a burst of divine light, illuminating St. Michael's like never before. Margaret awoke with a heart smoldering, pulsing with anticipation and fervent expectation. Today was the day. 3 days had passed since that celestial promise was made, and the air around them felt charged, vibrantly alive with what was to unfold. Gathering in the church once more, The congregation buzzed with palpable excitement. Faces glowed with hope. Eyes sparkled with a zealous light. "Together, we'll witness our victory," Margaret declared, her voice ringing like a bell. The room responded with a chorus of amen, echoes of faith ricocheting off the stone walls, creating an atmosphere thick with divine grace. Suddenly, the soft rumble of thunder rolled outside, a gentle reminder of the unforeseen, but rather than fear, hearts filled with courage. The elder strode forth, his eyes gleaming with wisdom. "Remember, my dear children, God does not just provide homes. He constructs families rooted in love and miracles." Each heartbeat seemed to echo that sentiment, igniting zeal within. Margaret felt it within her soul. The breakthrough was upon them. What does heaven have in store? She pondered silently, resolved to embrace whatever came their way. With hands clasped and hearts wide open, the congregation lifted their voices in unison. "Lord, we await your revelation. Let us step into our promised home with unwavering trust." As they prayed, light began to dance through the stained glass windows, casting vibrant hues around the church, creating an ethereal atmosphere. It was as if heaven itself was pouring down blessings, showering them with divine assurance. The room began to fill with warmth, hearts igniting with divine presence. The comforting sensation enveloped Margaret like a soft embrace. She looked around, witnessing tears of joy streaming down many faces, each reflecting an internal awakening. "Hold on to that feeling," she urged, her voice steady and clear. "We are ready, we are willing to receive." As if on cue, a radiant light began to form at the altar, coalescing into a magnificent figure. It shimmered like stars caught in a gentle wind, glowing with tenderness and strength. Gasps of wonder filled the air. Those present felt an unshakable hope wrap around them like a mother hen gathering her chicks. "Fear not," the angel proclaimed, its voice melodious, ringing through every heart. "The home you seek is not just a place, but a journey embedded in the faith you nurture together." The promise resonated deeply. Tears flowed freely as a collective understanding washed over them. "In this divine intervention, it's about what connects our hearts," someone whispered, reflecting the shared internal shift. Margaret felt the overwhelming surge of communal spirit around her, igniting her belief. "So we embrace each other," she spoke boldly. "We become the new home for those who need safety, love, and warmth." The congregation roared in affirmation. Prayers rose higher, each heartbeat reaffirming their singular vision, a tapestry of hope and unity woven together. In that moment, with the angel in their midst, doubts vanished like shadows at dawn. The immediate fear of their uncertain future melted away, replaced by the shimmering light of faith. "Our new home shall welcome all," Margaret declared. As the glowing angel spoke again, "Trust in the lessons learned along the way, for every challenge shall transform into a testament of your faith." The warmth enveloped them once more, highlighting the collective essence of their journey. It was not just a destination. It was about their hearts intertwining in divine unity. The angel faded gently, leaving behind a trail of light, a whisper of divine existence echoing in their spirit. "Now go forth. Your hearts are the sacred vessels through which my love flows." In that moment, Margaret understood what true sacrifice meant. It was opening oneself to the unknown, stepping out from comfort, and realizing that their growth depended not on material possessions, but on the bonds of compassion and community they held dear. As they gathered outside, the village blossomed with light radiating hope and possibility. People poured into the streets, weather-beaten spirits smiling under the warmth of divine love. St. Michael's stood proud and firm, not just as a church, but as an enduring beacon of faith, a sanctuary for all. With hearts ablaze, they walked forward hand in hand, no longer just searching for a divine home. They were becoming one. They had transformed their shared fears into love, sacrifice into salvation. They knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that together, they would thrive in the embrace of their Heavenly Father. This was divine resolution, the culmination of pain into purpose, trials into triumph, and fear into unfathomable faith. As you reflect on the powerful story of hope, Joyously subscribe to this channel to never miss an exclusive story of faith again. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm, spreading love far and wide. Comment your reactions and share your testimonies about this divine climax. Share this miraculous video instantly with at least 5 friends who are waiting for the light they need to shine upon their lives. Your support as true servants of God matters. This is your moment. Don't wait even one more second.